thing I can say about astrology is there's no way to tell everything in one video, at all. There's so much to astrology. Like, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's like a bottomless pit. So it's very easy to get all over the place because there's so much information that it gives you. It is like a rabbit hole to do your charting. Sometimes you just gotta hold back a little because you could be going forever. Even after all of my years studying this, I mean, most of my life, there's still so much to learn from it. Always, there's always something to learn. We barely scratch the surface of things. That's why it's so important to have your chart done, because it really gets to the depths of your soul. Astrology, if you break that up, astroology, the study of the stars, that's what it means. And zodiac means circle. Your circle of life. People say a lot of things about astrology, but really, even from the Bible, and they want to argue with you about this, but God made the sun and the stars and all these things and told you to look for these signs. Other religions like Judaism and all that, they are very heavy on astrology and numbers and all of that, which makes them very different from Christianity, because Christianity pushes that away. So much more people actually follow the stars, the math. I mean, all of our calendars, our time clocks, everything came from the stars and the seasons, all of it. It all came from this one thing to create time and signs and omens and all that thing. So there's so much more to it that people don't understand. That's where most of our life actually comes from. So your birth chart is basically, if you think of it as you being birthed into the world, and at that moment the universe taking a screenshot of what was going on in the sky when you were born. And so the majority, the most important things to understand is your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. Those are the things that are inherently you. Those will show the most in your life, and that's who you'll show up as in your life, to yourself and to others. And then the rest of it is kind of goes deeper into it, of what you may face in your life depending on where the planets are, where they're at in the sky, which zodiac they're in, all that. So you can have 80,000 different calculations. It can be completely different. That's why it's just because you're a Libra sun sign and there's other Libras, but it gets so much deeper than all of that, because no two Libras are the same. Our zodiac signs are really where the sun was in the sky when you were born. You take into account all of the other planets, it can be literally anywhere. It is very personalized to you, instead of just a horoscope for your sun sign or for all of the Libras, right? Because sometimes you don't come off like your sun sign. A lot of the time your personality is more of your rising sign and how you kind of show who you are to the world. And you're a Sagittarius rising, so you can come off more like a Sagittarius at times. Your moon sign is your inner self, your emotional self. And your sun sign is more of how you portray yourself out there and how people kind of see you. So here is your birth chart, and I know it's a lot to take in at once, so I'm going to try to break it down as best as I can. As I was saying before, your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign is going to be the most important. So your sun is right here, your rising sign is right here, and your moon sign is right here. First, I'm going to show you about, these are your elements and modes. And then all of these are your aspects and how the planets are interacting with each other. This little chart right here. Gonna start with the elements and the modes. These are the modes and these are the elements. So we have 3 different modes and 4 different elements. That's cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And then we have 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. Now you have less in the fixed area. You're very strong in cardinal air. This would count as 2. And then I would say probably earth would be your next biggest strength. So air and earth would be your more apparent elements in your chart. Cardinal, air, and then least would be fixed, overall for your mode, and you have very little fire or water. Being an air dominant chart, that means you take on a lot more personality traits of like being intellectual, knowledgeable, rational, social, just easygoing. You question things. You like to think about ideas. Can be talkative or indecisive. Very curious, and you have like a natural wanting for just like words and knowledge. The earth you have here, it can be like you being realistic and very grounded, more caring about like material things that you can hold like in your life, and just more of like stable and having things like in an order, grounded. With less fire in your chart, that would mean that like the negative side of that would be like lacking self-confidence and asserting yourself and being very tired and pessimistic and quiet, and also isolation. And with very little water in your chart, that means you could have a difficulty expressing or interpreting your emotions. You could be like emotionally detached, sometimes like dissociating on things. You could be prone to like more destructive emotional outbursts, and then going almost like unresponsive, and then just like going cold and having no feelings towards things. So that's kind of the hard part with dealing with those. So that would be basically what encompasses your modes and your elements in your chart, of like how they all accumulate together. Also, the sun is located, this is the daytime, so this is the way the sun travels. It starts here at the sunrise and then to sunset right here, and then this is nighttime. So everything under this line is the nighttime, and this is daytime. So being that the sun is in the daytime, it means that you're probably more extroverted, that your traits are more pronounced on the outside. If they were in the night chart, it would be like more introverted and you didn't show yourself as much. Like mine is in the nighttime, so I'm more introverted and within. The sun being on the daytime chart means you show more of yourself with your rising sign. Your rising or your ascendant sign is your basic personality traits, your physical appearance, your temperament, your behavior, your relationship to life, and basically the first impression you give. With it being in Sagittarius rising, that means that Sagittarius was rising in the sky on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. And this placement influences a lot about your life. So, being that it was in Sagittarius, it likely you come across as optimistic, outgoing, and adventurous. You could have a strong sense of idealism and exploration, both intellectually and physically. You could be known for your direct communication style, often expressing your beliefs and opinions and faith and philosophies. It can also mean you have a love for travel and higher education and philosophical pursuits. You're always seeking opportunities to broaden your horizons, whether through travel, education, or just learning something new. And it's going to shape a significant role in your identity and your worldview. So, Sagittarius is the ninth sign of the zodiac, and it's represented by the symbol of the archer. So you basically embody the essence of the archer. And the archer is always aiming higher, reaching for the stars, embracing life with open arms. It's always looking for a goal. And just like with a bow, sometimes we have to be pulled back to be propelled forward. Sometimes we need to be stuck in a space long enough to gain clarity so that we can then realize where we want to shoot to next. Where do we want to, go on our goals, on our journey? And Sagittarius has a deep-seated curiosity and hunger for knowledge. They are lifelong students of the universe. They're constantly looking to expand their horizons. You could just be a natural born explorer. You crave excitement and experiences. Being optimistic, looking for the positive outlook on life, seeing the silver lining in every situation, lifting the spirits of those around you. It also talks about being very honest and blunt and straightforward. And they're known for speaking their minds. They can also be very generous and very big hearted and always willing to lend a hand to those in need. And they have a strong sense of justice and fairness and, strive to make the world a better place. And they have it's just like this really philosophical, deep-seated curiosity and thirst for knowledge and spiritual matters, and constantly seeking to expand their understanding of the universe. But Sagittarius can also be very restless and easily bored and always looking for like the next adventure or challenge to keep them stimulated. So they can, you can struggle with commitment and routine and preferring the excitement of the unknown. They're very about like fun loving, open minded approach to just life. Sagittarius on the first house, the key word here would be freedom, and any restriction can be very hard on you. So you'll value your freedom and independence immensely, and you thrive when you're given the space to pursue your interests and passions without feeling tied down by commitments and obligations. So you really need your independence. The one liability with this is it can cause procrastination. So you can have a strong sense to like please others and like people please, but You can also like overpromise or overcommit to things, and then like in a moment of impulse. And although you can seem carefree on the surface, you have like a lot of nervous and tension and anxiety, so there can be a lot of lack of organization, or your mind might kind of like brain scatter. But usually later in life, you tend to get, this would mean that you would tend to get interested in like spiritual horizons, and it's a change in personality that quiets your restlessness and brings like this deep serenity and peace. It's like your life experiences shaped you to learn the lessons that your soul set out for. So life would have never really been dull, and it can generate like a lot of desire for like a full and active life. Um, Especially Sagittarius on the physical body, they rule the hips and the power to move forward. Um, so you could have issues with your hip movements or walking that could affect your livelihood, is a big thing to remember. And if you do, um, working through specific things to help heal that would be important. Sagittarius seeks like the wisdom of the self-conscious mind. So like even in the Bible, Jacob he was like lame in his hip, and it was really talking about also his understanding. So he was like holding on to this angel and like would not let go until he got the blessing like in his hip. And when he did, the angel left him, and this light had come over him, and his darkness of ignorance was like gone. And so it's also a lot like that. You may also feel like controlled, like your animal instincts are controlled, and you may have this constant like searching for something and feel that it's like a difficult to achieve. Even before like reaching the goal, you'll see like another goal that is just as difficult to achieve. It also makes you a Gemini descendant, ascendant and descendant. So that's the opposite. So it's a Gemini descendant. When you have, so the best partner for you is a person who can analyze and challenge your opinions and conclusions, that forces you to think more clearly, and who actually irritates your confidence. Be grateful to the people who are willing to do the little things that will help make your great plan a reality. And don't look down on your partner and try to listen to their everyday stories, because it will bring you guys closer. I know you were looking for love, and with love and like relationships and marriage and everything, you would want to look for your Jupiter sign and your Venus sign, and also the seventh house. With Jupiter, Jupiter is usually our husband, and Jupiter is in the 10th house in Libra, which actually means it's in a really great place. So that means that you could probably have, be married more than once. It can cause like delays or unforeseen issues in your marriage, being that it's in a Capricorn house. It can talk about like a mature, responsible partner. Understanding marriage like as is like a contract. Understanding marriage is as much of a contract as it is a feeling. And you may seek out like a partner who's older than you or in a position of authority. It's even possible that you might meet this person at work or at a networking event, or you share similar career paths, which would be pretty prominent. with it also being in Libra, that can also talk about you love and thrive in like long-term relationships and finding the beauty in things. You have like really high standards in romance, and you're expected to be treated well by your partner without having to ask. Most likely shows that you'll have a few long-term relationships before meeting the right person at the right time. The right relationship will bring balance and harmony to your life because Venus rules Libra, and your future like person will likely pursue you at first, but the attraction will be mutual. And again, it will probably be like he'll probably have like some position of prestige or authority in their career, is what this says. The 7th house is our relationships. You want somebody that's Cancer like, who's very nurturing and cares about their family as a whole, but not necessarily that you want a Cancer, but somebody that acts in a Cancer way that's nurturing and cares a lot about their family, puts a lot of emphasis on their family. That can be a big part of it. Also probably be looking at your Venus in Virgo, meaning like your love style would be very service orientated, which means like you would work towards things, acts of service to others, wanting to give your all to someone, just wanting to bring balance in their life as much as they bring into your life, would be very important for you. You'd want somebody that like organizes themselves well and is very possibly even service orientated like yourself. So, it's like I would say you could even meet somebody either at work or say like church or through your faith, because the 9th house is also about Sagittarius and philosophies and faith and all that. So I'd say between work or church or some sort of service driven area would be where you would find them. Let's talk about your sun sign. Your sun sign is it symbolizes your personal identity. It shows us the areas where you should learn to be independent, where you should fulfill your potential, profession, and like what suits your character as a person. So, Sun in Libra would be usually very balanced. It's about harmony. It's about the scales, finding justice. I know you said you were a nurse, so that could really be about like bringing justice to others and finding balance for yourself and others, especially with all of your Virgo aspects. I can really see how that happened. Libras talk about very sincere and honest people, find it hard to tolerate noisy or rude or abusive behavior or conduct. They can have an artistic talent because they're really keen on beauty and like the finer things in life. With the sun being in the 9th house, that means you would have a more like less practical focus. It creates thinkers who express their opinions on a general level, having noble motives. It could mean you have like a very serious interest in religious and spiritual matters, or naturally interested in philosophy or the law. Being that the sun is in Libra and also Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and your Jupiter is under Libra, and also in the 10th house. It really tells me like your work and expanding yourself is really going to have a lot of purpose for your life. And a lot of your 9th house, which is you could be like publishing a book, or philosophies, or just like mass media. It also means trade, sports, comedy, exploring, traveling, global communication, social media. Faith is really big in the 9th house. Finding faith, finding God, finding spiritual pursuits is going to be very important to your journey. Let's talk about your moon in the 6th house in Gemini. So the moon is our emotions, our instincts, our roots, our mother. This tells us about like a sense of security and where to find it. It describes if we're sensitive and how we instinctively interact with our surroundings. It tells us about our childhood and our experiences with our mother. With Moon in Gemini, this usually manifests itself as like the need for change and spontaneity. And safety lies in thinking about your feelings and sharing them with others. You can be quite talkative, or your ability to use like literature, journalism, or counseling, or really just being that it's in the 6th house of service and daily tasks, just like doing little things for others, is how you express your love and your emotions for others. And then it also talks about being reliable, like just being a reliable person and provide the services to the other people. So like with the nursing and being taking care of things that need to change or improve. You can have like really constructive ideas and show, personal effort to achieve results. So you can still be like, again, restless and go through a lot of changes in life. So that can create a lot of emotional tension for you. Geminis are very like dual nature. Kind of like the communicators. They're ruled by Mercury, and they're like really good salespeople. You can be, extra inquisitive and very adaptable and versatile, and a lot about communication would be huge. Communicating about your feelings, or as an act of service, like even spiritual or faith-based counseling with others would be a really great pursuit for you, especially when you can't physically do, nursing and all that. Getting back involved with your faith, and helping others find their faith, finding your own faith, helping others find their own faith would be just amazing feeling for you. But Gemini and the moon can be very difficult because they're very different. The moon the moon rules Cancer, which is the next sign over, and so that means you could have trouble figuring out how you feel about something, or you can go back and forth in your mind about it, kind of confused. Like, it could go one way or you could go another way, and kind of bounce back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and kind of get yourself confused and unsure of how you feel about something. As you see right here, the moon is squaring your Venus sign, so you might have a hard time finding love. Or just having a hard time expressing your love to others, communicating how you feel. You also trine your Jupiter, so it could really even it out when you expand more about learning more about your emotions, how they affect you, your triggers, and also healing your inner child, which is about the moon, the mother. So healing your inner wounding with your mother and yourself could really help your expansion and help you communicate more on your emotions by digging deep into the past, which is also the moon. So moving on to your next planets of Mercury and Venus, both being in the 9th house. Like all of these planets here that are in this house are feeding off of each other. They're playing off of each other. And they're all in Virgo and also a little bit of Libra. But it really encompasses a lot of things in your life. Mercury talks about like your thinking habits, your communication, your intellect, your learning, what you want to study about or analyze or reproduce, your intelligence. You could get quite snippy that things aren't done a certain way and talk about that. That can be a downfall. Like you have very diplomatic remarks about different situations. Mercury is very good with air signs. So your Mercury is in Libra. Technically, it's just placed over here. It's actually like right here. So Mercury is good with air signs. Libra is an air sign, just like Gemini and Aquarius. Those are all air signs. It can be like a shallowness to it instead of getting like looking at the bigger picture of things instead of like small details. Kind of talks about how maybe your judgment and intelligence will often force you to rethink your beliefs and make you have extensive education so that you can express yourself. I really feel like with your chart, it that you should write some sort of book. I don't know if you're a writer or anything like that, but maybe that would be something you would want to do. And even say with your Mercury down here squaring your Mars, that you can get like really passionately heated and start popping off at the mouth or talking back or just like real aggressive. You get aggressive? Do you get aggressive? Let's see, it's also retrograde. So that would mean Mercury retrograde. I know you've heard this, like we go into Mercury retrograde several times a year. So this can also be about you really needing to plan and prepare and review things much longer than others and avoiding big decisions or waiting until you're done having conflicting emotions about doing things before you move forward on those decisions. And with the Venus and Virgo in the 9th, Venus is really about our sensuality, our love, our femininity, our harmony, pleasure, attractiveness. It tells us what we're attracted to. It enables us to give and receive love. So with like Virgo, that's all about like giving and receiving. Affection, beauty, happiness, values, principles. The negative side is that it can represent our weakness and shallowness. So Venus in Virgo can signal difficulties because almost like love and beauty cannot coexist with analysis. So one of them must be suppressed. Because the result of analyzing love and art is the realization that one must accept secrets and also stop analyzing them. Like that you would rather prefer inspiration over the technology. That you're very appreciating, expressing, and maintaining this like fragility of love and beauty. You gain like refined taste for social and emotional and artistic value during your routine of searching for defects and removing them. So as far as love and relationships are concerned, they kind of undergo a process of purification, removing like unclean thoughts and feelings and values. So it can potentially mean like they can temporarily or permanently be like bachelors, or like the lady with the million cats, and be kind of fine with it. Could also mean that you would meet close contacts with like foreigners or people from different environments, or from far away, which could make sense, like, you know, Facebook and whatnot. It's kind of interesting to think about. It does say that your Venus and Mars is trine, and also your Saturn. So either you did have an easy time like finding love, or finding your discipline in love, finding your boundaries in love. Virgo is a feminine sign, so it can be more passive in your relationships, possibly because afraid to speaking up and like making scene. Maybe that you're not wanting to be seen. I would say Venus trine Mars would be very considerate and kind people. They have many friends and they like to spend their free time meaningfully. Can be a lot of creative energy, but they want to do things in a relaxed manner. And then Venus trine Saturn would be having this like responsible and reserved behavior in most like emotional or social activities with people. Very faithful, conventional, and stable. You would need a strong and stable relationship that gives you confidence and ability to trust. You have a lot of hidden fears of rejection and self-confidence. I feel like older and more reliable partners would give you more confidence because you are very like careful and responsible in the things that you're entrusted with. Mars in the first house of Capricorn. That's an interesting one. The first house is about our personal identity. It talks about ourself, our expression, our personality, our outlook on life, our health, appearance, our outward behavior. Mars talks about our activity, our energy, our assertiveness. Kind of symbols the need to get what we want, our driving force in a way, our sex drive, our initiative. It tells us about our desires and our willpower. It tells us how we are able to overcome our obstacles and kind of like how active we are. So with Mars in Capricorn, it would mean like you don't want to waste time daydreaming. When you make plans, you're really realistic about it and you want to accomplish what you plan. It makes the Mars in Capricorn, it like makes it stronger. It kind of means that your achievements are really built on solid foundations, and you'd rather go the hard route than make things, like easier and kind of go around stuff. It's going to be really important for you to believe that there is progress, even though you'll feel like yourself is like a construction zone that's like constantly needing to be done and redone. But unconsciously, under the surface, you'll not notice like how much progress you've made unless you actively look more at it. I mean, like, you're very ambitious. You don't want to watch your life pass by. You're hardworking. You like healthy competition. So, like, with Mars squaring Jupiter, I feel like you might get on yourself because you don't want to be too aggressive in trying to like necessarily go after things. Like, you don't want to push things too far. Mars trining Saturn would be like, you can work without getting tired. You're really careful, consistent, like entrepreneurial, like not wanting to take risks, but you'd be okay with taking risks if you can easily deal with the challenges and obstacles and discipline to do it. Being that it's also about Sagittarius and Capricorn. Capricorn rules like your back. With that, yeah, with the hips, the liver, thighs, your pituitary glands, your sciatic nerve, your lower back, knees, really like lower extremities. It's probably going to be really important with your health and your body and how you see yourself. So again, with the Jupiter in the 10th house in Libra. So Jupiter is about also your happiness, your optimism, and it's really big on your expansion. So it symbolizes your growth, laws, faith, ethics, and everything that like guides you for development and support, which can lead to opportunities and also your wealth. This really talks about ethical and religious influences will directly affect success in personal relationships. Usually you'll have like at least one emotional turn with your relationships, which will mean a shift in your moral philosophy and sense of like I guess fair play.
It could even take on the form of like legal dispute, consciously or unconsciously. The judgment or objective can cause conflict, and it'll feel like on trial, especially in your work sector. Having like moral attitude will bring you a lot of respect and increase your influence on others, especially like workplace. People with Libra in the 10th house cusp can often have their own business, or they work together with their partner. They might also work on a project together with other people. It also means that like with the ruler of the 10th house, Venus, and that's in the ninth house over here. Could be like meeting like foreign officials in connection with your profession, or especially teaching at a mature age. That could also be important. So Saturn is right here in your 4th house, Taurus. And Saturn is about restriction, discipline, order, maturity, and time. Saturn is a very strict teacher who's very ruthlessly examines our maturity, basically. It's also about like our karma and our karmic debt. Also talks about what we should focus on and what we should continue to develop, which is in the 4th house of home and roots and family, parents. It talks about your family of origin, heredity, traditions, your emotional base, your residence, real estate, your conditions of early life, your birthplace, your beginnings, your endings. I would say with it being in Taurus, I would say needing to learn to attribute the right value to things. Can have a good sense of material values, but then tend to underestimate the intangible or invisible things that are not immediately apparent at the first glance. Like money can become a source of your worries and problems, especially when for taking care of your home. So they're either afraid of what they already own, or have debts or not enough money for your home or things in the home or for your family. Can attach too much importance to material things. It can make you realize that the supply of cash does not depend so much on external conditions, but rather how rich you feel inside, how much comfort and value and beauty you can bring to your home. The purpose of this life lesson is to gain a sense of balance and to stop compensating for it by merely evaluating life as a material point of view, or to overlook this area. Saturn in the 4th house means great responsibility in the home and family matters. Might have to support or discipline your family members a lot. I could say that they don't really like you wouldn't really like changes, or have like really real fear of the unknown and new things. They long for security, and they try to be really careful and secure themselves, and your roots would be really important to you. Could be that you were restricted from having nice things growing up, or the house being either really nice, or it needed to be orderly, or it was a disaster. I'd say that it was like things needed to be nice and pretty and orderly. It would also mean that if you change your environment, you're much more likely to reach happiness and like feeling fulfilled and secure within your home. With Uranus in the 9th house in Libra, Uranus talks about your originality, your freedom, like your internal revolution, your power of awakening, which means that there could be some disruption and change, like events could feel like unexpected or unpredictable and forcing you to do things in a new way and like face the reality and the truth about whichever issue. It would be like this sudden and intense energy into traditional desire for harmony and tranquility at some point in life, like wanting to find your peace, your balance, not accepting like maybe traditional forms of relationships, maybe even having like casual relationships. But it also talks about, with it being in the 9th house, can suggest like confusion and changes in your religion and faith and higher thought and philosophy and like what you want to think and what you want to believe. So you could have like it could make you have like a very progressive and like broad attitude towards life in general, because it's very intuitive. You'd rather just like think about things and then think about them in a logical way, but you're also willing to like give up your habits and traditions to give priority to new ideas. So your ideas could bring you on a journey to unusual places. So Neptune in the 11th house of Scorpio. Neptune is about fantasy and illusion and delusion, and also about spirituality, the unconscious, your imagination, daydreaming. It's like the invisible empire. It's like our it's like mystery, a dimension of life we can't experience with our, like, what we can touch and feel, like our senses, and we can only understand and perceive it in our imagination. It also means that like you'd be really good or have the desire to discover spiritual doctrines, creative potential, but it's like hidden and you're not aware of it. So it can be very difficult to activate this potential. The 11th house also talks about our associations, our acquaintances, our friends, clubs, business contacts, like community activities, goals, hopes, things like that. It's ruled by Aquarius. It can also mean that all of your friends are unusual and strange. That your friends can be very, very emotionally based. And being in Scorpio, that talks about like you can have really powerful or intense or magnetic dynamics in your relationship with society or just like associations in general. It's really about community. You could have like a lot of doubt or fear from like the mystery and secrecy that's in society. Like you don't understand it. That can also make sense. And Pluto in the 9th house in Virgo. This is a very generational. Pluto is a very generational planet. It only moves every so many years. Pluto in Virgo and Libra was technically like boomer generation. That's pretty much what that means. And then when you get to more millennial stuff, it gets Scorpio and Sagittarius, and we were just in Pluto and Capricorn until 2008. Or no, it started in 2008 and it went until 2023. And now we're in Pluto and Aquarius until like I think 2040 or something like that. It's gonna be like 20 years. But Pluto and Virgo talks about having being very accurate and methodical. Can really start to look for fault or become too strict about adherence to rules. But they can achieve transformation by analyzing things. So being in the 9th house of higher thought, to understand the nature of natural forces and humanity. So you can have like well-developed like mental ability, interested in transforming and restoring like legal and moral, educational, philosophical institutions and systems, just like the Kratom community, different things like that, like seeing the causes of the problems in the wider social order, like strong sense of justice, and they can't stand to see injustice and like hypocrisy in the world. They want to tend to like impose their views on others. It's how you transform your philosophies of life by destroying all the negative things and bring on your healing and transformation. What's really cool down here in the 3rd house of Pisces is your North Node. So your North Node is your direction for your soul's progress. It's very difficult to approach, but you have to develop it with like by producing. You have to develop it. You can only develop it through producing in your growth. North Node in Pisces is actually my sign as well, just in a different place. It's about going towards spiritual pursuits and talking is 3rd house is writing, intellect, short trips, communicating, consciousness, self-expression, siblings, education, transportation, vehicles. Pisces is about being psychic and spiritual and sympathetic and caring and sentimental, responsive to things. So communicating about spiritual things and bringing that transcendental spiritual effort into everyday reality between chaos and order and between spirituality and reason. So when you open up to your spirituality and imagination and the unexplainable, you have to escape like the constraints of the usual and the explainable, and to be open to the unusual and the unexplainable. You have to go beyond rational and analytical and develop like imaginative powers and spiritual awareness. Is a time to really find yourself. It's about self-sacrifice and showing your love for other people. Don't like get too obsessed with like order or cleanliness and rejection of if everything's not perfect or if it can't be explained. It also means that the south node, or where you came from, like basically like your past life, was that you were seeking objectivity and clinging to like a very highly subjective understanding, like firmly anchored in opinions and commands of the other, or could also mean that you were very anchored, too anchored in your faith and beliefs to get you to come out and like explore spirituality. So that's what you need to do this lifetime, instead of only learning how to express complex context and ideas in everyday language, how to convey spiritual thinking into practical life and transfer it into comprehensible form, so that you can show the connection between the philosophical and noble knowledge and values of everyday life. So it's about getting away from like your religious or philosophical prejudices and your stubborn beliefs, and opening yourself up to spirituality and like communicating about that. Which also goes with your Chiron, which is also still in the third house, but now it's in Aries. So these are very close to each other. So they're going to be working off of each other. So the Chiron, he's the wounded healer. He's the inner teacher. Chiron's not actually like, he's not actually a planet, but he's an asteroid. His orbit's very unusual and kind of represents a bridge between material and spiritual worlds. It's he was a great healer and a wise teacher and like this immortal centaur. But unfortunately he was deadly injured by this poisonous arrow by Hercules. And he was suffering and he had so much pain, but he could not die. Like he was immortal, basically. And then he ended up like giving up his immortality for the benefit of someone else who was also suffering. So then Chiron was sent to the underworld. And in the underworld, Zeus had mercy for him and raised him up to heaven, basically. So basically in astrology, Chiron symbolizes our unhealed injuries and like incurable trauma. However, instead of drowning in your own trauma, is to accept the trauma and help others who are also suffering, and accept that suffering is a part of life. And then that is a key to wisdom. It's also like how you initiate, it's like an initiation gate, which is going to be important for your spirituality. In Aries would mean that you may have been traumatized by the fact that despite like all of your efforts, that you were not successful because you felt like you weren't very proactive and assertive as you needed to be, that you lacked an appropriate dose of like healthy aggression that's needed to be like in this competitive society, like in order to survive, like competition type thing, that it's like too harsh and too ruthless, and you'll compensate for this with like overdoing it, and then the results will never correspond with the effort that you've put in. Also be that like either that nobody listens to you, or that no matter how hard you try, or others can't understand you or do not want to understand you. Like you'll try to like correct their misunderstanding of you. The more it feels like you can't get over this sense of misunderstanding, that people that you'll never overcome what hurt you. maybe it was a lot of emotional abuse. Even maybe from your siblings, like your siblings talking so much shit to you, or like cousins, just like kind of close knit people just like getting at you, and then that like affecting your confidence to like push forward, to go after the weird things they didn't fucking understand. So you like deterred from it because you didn't want to be more misunderstood. It also opposes your sun, and it opposes your Mercury, and it squares your Mars, and it opposes Uranus. Yeah, so you could have a lot of like fighting with yourself mentally, and like with what brings you joy, because it'll constantly, things are like in a battle between themselves here. It's just like back and forth, back and forth. That your part of fortune, which is in Virgo, but also in the 8th house. So this would say that where you find your happiness is unraveling the mysteries of like spirituality, the occult, like transcendence, transformation, your psychic sensitivity, and analyzing it, and also like putting it with everyday use and overcoming trauma, getting on the same page with your emotions so that you're not back and forth, speaking about things, loving self and others and yourself, and just like expanding your entire growth as a human being and as a soul. That's really beautiful.
So I'm also looking over. So this past year, since your birthday, you probably had a really big. So since your last birthday in October, you went into your annual perfection of 7th house. And the 7th house really talks on partnerships, relationships, your close associates, your partners, business or marital, peers, contracts, courts, negotiations. So that could have been really prevalent, like in your mind and what you're working through until your next birthday. So being like really focused on relationships and finding a partner and things like that. But around your next birthday, you're going to go into your 8th house. That'll be kind of like a turning point of when you're thinking more about spiritual practice, just the mysteries of life, your spiritual transformation. You can also talk about like other people's money, inheritances, birth, death, rebirth, having like an ego rebirth. And then when you turn 59, you're gonna go into your second Saturn return. Your first Saturn return was when you were about 29 years old. So, like right in between 29 and going on 30 is, and it usually starts right when, like, depending, like, probably when you were like 27 to like 30, really, but it's like accentuated when you were 29. So think about the things that were going around in that time. So when you're 59, you're going to go through another one. And again, Saturn is about like your challenges. You go through a challenging point. So it can be like with you, you'll also be in your 12th house. I think that will really like mark when you go like fully into your spiritualness. So like those 4 years or whatever of like getting back into your spirituality and like learning things and like just like this existential crisis, it'll kind of feel like suffering because you're like losing parts of yourself but also gaining new parts of yourself. And then once you hit like 60, you'll feel like it'll be all about you. You'll feel good in yourself, kind of thing. Like you'll feel more complete because of all the growth you've went through, and be like thankful for all the bullshit, basically, that you went through to get you to that new place within you. I really hope you enjoyed your reading. I know a lot of the stuff can, especially with a lot of the stuff being in like around the same place, and it's really gonna play off of each other and like mean a lot of the same things. So that just means like it's more important for your path, for your life, and it's things you're gonna see over and over and over again, like testing in your life, basically testing your soul, learning from things. It is our soul lessons to get us more educated, our soul more educated. So you'll probably see a lot of the same things taking place in your life a lot of times. And you'll go through that a lot of times. And it'll feel unnerving because you're just like, when is it gonna stop doing this, you know? I know that we did cover a lot of stuff and it can go so much deeper, so much more. There's always so much more that you can look on. But I know it was a lot. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed it. Love you.